1st October 1961 has been a controversial year in the history of Cameroon, as well as 1st January 1960. As any nation, Nigeria celebrated the day they regained independence from the British, that was 1st October 1960. And any other country across Africa has a day dedicated as Independence Day, a day they regained their independence. In Ghana, they also have theirs, which was the first country in Africa, West and Central, to regain independence. I always like to use the word regain because Africa was first an independent territory before they were colonized by the Western nations. And in Cameroon, the question lingers in the minds of Cameroonians is, when is the independence date? When is the independence date? As we have in other countries where they will come together and celebrate their day. Is 20th May the independence date of Cameroon? 11 February, is it the independence day of Cameroon? 1st of January 1960, is it the independent day of Cameroon? 1st October 1961, is it the independent date of Cameroon? Whichever date you have, we have not had a harmonized date as far as celebrating our independence is concerned. However, in 2018, 1st October, historically, for the first time in the nation's political capital in Yaoundé, there was a recognition of the 1st of October 1961 Accord that reunified the former Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon. And we saw government ministers at the reunification monument celebrating this day in the same vein as it was unfolding in Yaoundé, political capital. In the northwest and southwest region, armed separatist fighters were on the street also denouncing and saying that it's a day they are celebrating as the independent date. We are aware that Cameroon is unified in its diversity. And today's edition, we shall be looking at the truth, the lies, the conspiracies surrounding the 1st of October 1961. And we invited members of the Cameroon People Democratic Party, Senior Barrister Achu, who will be coming here in the, we invited Senior Barrister Achu, Julius, and also we invited Professor Elvis Ngolengole, whom gave us a recorded interview as far as this topic is concerned, and such that we can have other panelists to look at the truth, the lies, the conspiracy. Because whether we like it or not, when we fail to look at history and we fail to consider history, we are likely to repeat the errors of the past, and that will not advance the nation. This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mah Jarvis. You're welcome back from that transition. If you are watching us, this is House of Commons. Today's topic, we are looking at the truth, the lies, the conspiracy surrounding 1st October 1961. And also, we shall also be looking at the events that had plagued Cameroon within the period of the Anglophone crisis, zooming into 1961. As I earlier indicated, we invited Senior Barrister Achu Julius, who is a member of the Cameroon People Democratic Movement. He will soon be here. I'm sure he maybe is caught in traffic, and also we giving you an interview of Professor Elvis Ngolengole, where we have our own team too on the ground that shall be giving their analysis all the way from Kumba. K-Town is Mr. Suleiman, who witnessed the historical path of Cameroon at the time he was born till date, and he is also experiencing the changing landscape of Cameroon. He is a member of the Social Democratic Front, SDF, which has always been for federation. Mr. Suleiman, happy Sunday to you. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. It's a pleasure, Tah Jarvis, to be here again on board. And greetings to my fellow panelists, greetings to our viewers outside there. We have jammed again at Studio 1 of my media prime to brainstorm some of the silent issues affecting our country, especially the 1st October. So all our listeners should stay put and hear how we digest our arguments.
Nagudi. And of course, here in the studio, we have from the nation's political capital, Yaoundé, it is Dr. Seseko, Dr. Tah, who is coming in here to give an in-depth analysis as far as this is concerned. He is someone that believes in fairness, accuracy, balance, and states that no one should be above the law and no one should be below the law. The law is a law and must and should be respected in its diversity, and we must ensure that people are respected from different cultural perspective and putting African culture first. Seseko, Dr. Tah, Erena.
Kavib, thank you very much, and I like that intro. You know, this is the forum House of Commons, so we have to say common things so that our televiewers can really understand that it is a melting pot of cultures, and Cameroon is exhibited in House of Commons. Thank you for inviting me. It's a pleasure to be here again after a while. I extend my greetings to Mr. Suleiman all the way from Ground Zero, and Senior Barrister Seseko, Senior Barrister Ashu. It's a pleasure to always be here. And as he rightly said, we will try our little best to edify Cameroonians on what 1st October actually stands for in terms of our own perspective. And as you rightly coined it, the truth, the lies, and the conspiracy. We will try to analyze those three elements to give a better view, or the view the way we see it in terms of the validity of 1st October and why it should be taken as one of the most serious historical dates of Cameroon, especially when we take the new Cameroon, which is that of after 1960. So to me, it is a very current issue, and especially as yesterday, we saw a lot of things happening, and we even noticed that apart from us insisting on that date, it is as if nothing happened on that date, which becomes very disturbing and worrying to those of us who think that a country is built from its historical background, and the truth of that history is what will debunk lies, and then when conspiracies are kept aside, it can lay a good foundation for us to move forward.
Okay, thank you very much, Seseko. And he believes that Cameroon can be united in the Reform Party, and he has a strong view that the Reform Party has what it takes to restructure, bring Cameroon to its diversity, and ensure the rule of law, and promote social and economic justice, and bring in development in the areas that need it, and restructure the constitution that will meet the aspiration of the common man, where the wealth of the nation will not be shared to the wealthier, the wealthy persons, but shall be shared to those who are in the nooks and crannies, and those who are struggling to put food on their table. And he has a firm belief that when elected or voted as the president of Cameroon, those who are at the nooks and crannies will see development in entirety, and African will be seen as a continent where great leaders can come from. He is the president of Reform Party, Seseko, President Seseko, Senior Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, Mano, Elena. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Tah Mah Jarvis. I never knew you were a polyglot.
You know, when I was in school, I had a Bayangi friend that taught me Cheme Ekati, Cheme Ekati biology, so I know some of those things.
Oh, it's a pleasure meeting my brother here from Yaoundé, Seseko Dr. Tah, Tah, my Muslim brother, Suleiman from Kumba. Well, I would have loved to have Julius here, but well, since you said he is on the way. My special greetings go to all the Southern Cameroonians who just celebrated their independence. I would not buy the former independence, the former Southern Cameroons, the Southern Cameroons, because Cameroon today recognizes that there is Southern Cameroon. If we look at the family code, I don't know what has become of it. It went through the Senate, and we're expecting it to be passed into law, but I don't know in which drawer it is. But that code in Article 114 attempts to give a definition of a Cameroonian. And they tell you inside, to be a Cameroonian, you must either originate from the Republic of Cameroon, which attained independence on the 1st of January 1960, or from Southern Cameroon, which attained independence on the 1st of October 1961. So, I mean, that is who we are. We are Cameroon from 2 states. So, I think there's nothing like Forba. Greetings to all Reform Party members and sympathizers, and to all Cameroonians. We hope you are going to enjoy the debate.
Thank you very much, Senior Barrister Ashu. We want to also say happy Sunday to those of you watching us on social media platforms. We shall have intervention from Professor Elvis Ngolengole, as well as we are with the arrival of Senior Barrister Achu Julius, who will soon be here to discuss on these key issues that we have just raised. First, October 1961, the truth, the lies, the conspiracy. I begin with you, Mr. Suleiman. If we look at your age, it is true that between the 1961, of course, you have seen the light of day, and also when we look at you are a father within the nation, you have seen the transformation of the political landscape from Aijo, President Biya, and also from the time of when 1st October was the word 1st October was a myth in the people of the Northwest and Southwest region, to the time now where it's no longer a myth, where the word Southern Cameroon was almost a taboo between the 1990s, even the early 2000s, and it became less of a taboo in early 2016, 2017. The word Ambazonia was also a taboo, now is now being mentioned anyhow. I want to get your own version, the truth about 1st October 1961.
I say I was born in 1963, and all I will say is that I have to go back memory lane. I have to go to what we know what we know as Southern Cameroons in the days of the Richard Constitution and the McPherson Constitution. The turbulent nature, how our politicians went through the Richard Constitution, the McPherson Constitution in Nigeria, how they were discriminated, how they were relegated to the background. You know, how they suffered in order to project themselves into limelight. In fact, the Richard Constitution dealt with them very badly. It was a McPherson Constitution that even gave some leverage to the extent that they can even borrow money from banks, they can have some political positions, but in the days of Richard Constitution, those things they were deprived all. They suffered all. You see, they came to the French. You see, French Cameroon. They were francophones in French Cameroon that enjoy wonderful benefit from Southern Cameroon government. They were not relegated, they were not discriminated, they were not punished. Some of them even got scholarship. You see, we had people who are francophones. The British government does not discriminate them. They give them all the best they could at that time. That's why you have people like Jicap, who became the first template officer of the South region. You have people like Dr. Kwankam. You have people like Dr. Epanti. You have people like Commissary Pacha in the Southwest region, who were recognized as natives and indigenous of the Southwest under Southern Cameroons. You see, these are the transgressions that went through all around. But before we come to the real issue of National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, where Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe was the leader, headquarters
NC, yes.
Where you have people like Foncha, Muna, Augustine Gomjua, Endele, PM Kale, Motombi Woleta, NMB, and the rest.
NC.
Yes, on the National Council, they were the 13-man block of Southern Cameroon represented at the Eastern Regional Assembly at Enugu. You see, they played the politics there with even our Authority General who died in Kumba from V.E. Mukete. You understand? So you see, Southern Cameroon is not something of today. It is a movement that has struggled all along to establish itself to become a political force in Cameroon until the politics of the 50s came, when Ahidjo manipulated Foncha, Muna, to the disadvantage of Southern Cameroon politicians. You see, and I think I don't want to make derogatory remarks against Foncha or Muna because of their of blessed memory. And again, I don't want to make a statement that would insult their dignity and integrity. I don't want to make it. But there was a fabulous mistake they committed and errors along the line. Ahijo manipulated them. The French manipulated them. The French didn't want to see people like Ndele, Muna, and Foncha. And Muna, Ndele, Kale, and Bile, because they were more educated than the Foncha. Foncha was just a classroom teacher. He was just a teacher. So I think when we start from there, we see that Southern Cameroon has gone through up and downs. I mean, the politicians suffer a lot. But by the time we go into the details of the argument, we shall unveil it.
Dr. Eyong-Tah, I want to come last to Senior Barrister Ashu because I'm sure you will be talking about some legal issues. I want us to look at the historical perspective. Let us start with the truth about 1st October.
Well, the truth about 1st October can be seen first from two perspectives. The first one is that a territory that was considered a colony, trust territory, or whichever name they call it, was actually made autonomous, which we call independence. And on that day, which actually started from the 11th of February, which we call the plebiscite day, we can begin with what led to what we are claiming today to be independent, to be independence. Two questions were asked. And so when we go from the premises of the words that were used in the two questions, that was to end colonial leadership. We know one of the questions said, do you accept to achieve independence by joining the Federal Republic of Nigeria, or do you accept to gain independence by joining the Republic of Cameroon? If we go by these two questions, which are internationally known and can still be verified till now, it will mean that that territory gained independence. Now, we can go to the argument of whether it gained independence and became a sovereign state, or it was a state that was joined to another. So, independence aspect is very undebatable that that territory gained independence, which was ending colonial leadership.
Like the British Northern Cameroon.
British Northern Cameroon. The second truth is that that date is very important in history and to Cameroon as a country, because it is a date that the country is supposed to be happy that a territory that was supposed to be lost was rather gained. While on the same date, another territory that was similar to that one was lost to a sister country that is Nigeria. So even if they want to ignore the fact that people are claiming that they had independence, that date should be a memorable date to Cameroon on the basis that a major territory was lost. If they want to ignore the fact that we claim independence, they cannot also ignore the fact that internationally a territory was lost from Cameroon on that same date. So if you don't want to accept that one part gained independence, can you also deny the fact that the northern part of Nigeria gained independence by joining the Federal Republic of Nigeria? The answer is no, because they actually did. If we take again another aspect, when they decided to meet in Fuman to reconstitute a new Cameroon, from Ayijo's words, when they had finished with their deliberations, it was that today a new Cameroon has been born, where brothers and sisters have come together to operate as equal partners. When they went through their constitution, they noticed that it was not really as easy as they had expected. And so, one of the agreement was the famous Article 47 that Barrister may come better to talk about it, which stated that because of the difficulties and the time frame that had stayed apart and the challenges that they were going to meet, each person should keep the historical aspect that he has brought into the union. So this can only be guaranteed through a federal system. And so they were going to go this union in a federal system of government where no matter what changes they want to do, that federal structure should not be tampered with. These are all the truths that happened on the
about the 1st October,
1st October. which cannot be denied. And so, trying today to water down all this historical aspect to say that Cameroon is one and indivisible, Cameroon was first of all one, Cameroon was. The question we ask is, when they met in Fuman, were they all speaking the same language? The answer is no. When they met in Fuman, was the other country also gaining independence by joining the Southern Cameroons? The answer is no. That country had independence. And we must remind our televiewers that every country that gains independence has specificities that it gains its independence with. For example, French Cameroon get independent with a fixed territory, with a fixed territory, with a fixed population, with a fixed system of government, and some other aspects that goes with independence. So if another territory was going to be added to it, it is automatic that at the level of the international community, there had to be agreements in order to say that that Cameroon that gained independence on the 1st of January 1960, in terms of surface area A, has now become a new Cameroon with surface area A+. What has happened to that? One of its former brothers, that territory that was also under colonial leadership, has gained independence by joining that territory. And so this is what happened in Fuman and culminated to the 1961 constitution, where we gladly said, fine, we may manage to live with our brothers.
Okay.
Where do the lies come from?
No, we'll be coming from the lie. We'll be coming to the lies.
Okay.
I want us to first look at the truth.
Yes. Let's go again to the other truth. When they came in, those who left Southern Cameroons to go and negotiate did not go there as beggars. They did not go there as people who were annexed. They did not go there as people who were going to be colonized or they were going to meet a colonial master. They came with a government that was headed by a prime minister. And all countries that were preparing for independence did so under a prime ministry.
Like Kenya, because
like Kenya, like Ghana, like
Raila Odinga's father was the prime minister, first prime minister of
even
Kenya.
The French Cameroon itself that gained independence on the 1st of January had a prime minister. Yes. From there, it continued until even, so they all of them were through that process. Okay. British Southern Cameroon equally, I think we should remove British. I think that British is a bit pejorative. Southern Cameroon equally had a government. And that government was not called British Southern Cameroon government. It was called Southern Cameroon government. Okay. And so, when they were coming, it is that government that was representing a people and a territory that actually came to debate with their brothers on the 1st of October 1960.
Doctor, will be coming back to you. Let me come to Siseku, Senior Barrister Ashu. Senior Barrister Ashu, the truth. I want us to look at the truth. I'm happy Senior Barrister Ashu is here because you were expecting him. Let's look at now the truth about 1st October 1961. The Senior Barrister Ashu can come in because I'm still on that. I want us to look at 1st October 1961. Your perspective about the truth. You've listened to Dr. Siseko Yonta, of course, Mr. Suleiman, who is also a chief in his area, is Saliki. You have listened to him. And now I want us to listen to you to get your own view about this. He talked about Article 47, that he know you expatiate more on it.
Thank you, Jarvis. 1961 was the culmination of 1st October 1961 was just the culmination of several things that happened before. Southern Cameroon has gone down in history as the first country in Africa to have a democratically elected government. That was in 1952 and 54. And some people who venture into some lies telling by saying that Southern Cameroon was not a state, they should correct their history. This is a state that had the first democratically elected government in Africa. Now, Mr. Suleiman rightly said, Southern Cameroonians started by slamming the door to the Eastern House of Assembly in Enugu and creating their own institutions in Boya. They managed all that until 1959 when after the first and second Lancaster House talks in London, Britain decided to erect Southern Cameroon into the as the third independent province within the Federation of Nigeria. 1960, the Others in Council instituted the Southern Cameroon's constitution, and there we have the first discrepancy. A self-governing territory was now asked to choose between having independence by joining Nigeria or by joining Republic of Cameroon. Let me come back, because your question based on conspiracy.
The truth. I want us to look at the truth. We'll come into the lies and conspiracy.
Because Sisiku Eyongtabe said it here. Eyongta said it here that the northern Cameroons was lost, and many people don't look at it because this is a very big problem. The southern Cameroons were given to Britain as one block.
Trusteeship.
As one block. It was not Northern Cameroon and Southern Cameroon. You see, so first of all, the division of Cameroon into two by Britain was illegal. It was not part of their mandate. They were given the Cameroons as a block. Why would they divide into two, and then now upon independence they separate them and say you choose. You see, that is the first problem that we're having. Britain violated its trusteeship agreement by splitting the country, the trust territory into two, and further now, when it was required to ask the United Nations to grant independence to these territories, it was Britain that brought in this thing of choice. And Order in Council in 1960 introduced that choice. You must choose between having independence by joining Nigeria or by joining Republic of Cameroon. I've gone through all the history books. I've not seen any place where Southern Cameroon was being funded from Britain. I've not seen any place. It was a self-governing territory. So why would the British, when it comes to independence, want to divide the territory and say, all right, you even look at what obtained, because on the 11th of February 1961, there was the plebiscite. Our Francophone brothers had been clamoring for a straightaway union, and the UN said it's not possible. These people are, these are territories that are under Britain. It's not possible to have a straightaway union. First of all, there has to be a plebiscite. Let the people decide. After the plebiscite, Ahmadu Ahijo was dancing that he had won. Then the UN said, but this can cause trouble. They organized an independence vote on the 23rd of April, you see. So you had this referendum on the 11th of February, and then the independence vote was organized on the 23rd of April. And that was the vote that gave rise to Resolution 1608, wherein in Article 2B, the independence of Southern Cameroon was formally recognized by the UN. Article 2B. It is different from the case of Northern Cameroons. Northern Cameroons was to attain independence as an independent province within the Federation of Nigeria. It's not the same thing as Southern Cameroons.
You raised an issue. I want to do some follow-up before coming to Senior Vice Achu. You said this territory, British Southern Cameroon, was the first in Africa to have a democratic government.
Democratically elected government.
I want to ask, if it was the first country to have a democratically elected government, what then was their symbol to show that this is a democratically elected government in terms of that quantify them a state, like maybe the flag, the anthem, the currency? For us to look at this.
Of course, there was a flag. What the separatists are using is not their own flag; it's the Southern Cameroon flag.
That was the flag?
That is Southern Cameroon flag that the separatists are using. It is not their own. It is not Amazonia flag. It is Southern Cameroon flag. Go back to the book,
and
history books.
The currency.
Well, we're using the British currency.
Let me come in.
Briefly.
What we should know is
The
that
pound.
you see, Southern Cameroon was a mandated territory handed over to Nigeria by the League of Nations.
To Britain.
No, but that it was handed over to Britain handed over because when Britain handed Southern Cameroon to German Cameroon after the defeat of Germany, Britain took back Southern Cameroon, brought it to the League of Nations, and then it became a trusted territory handed over to Nigeria to control.
So, sir, they
Okay.
govern it alongside Nigeria because they had two territories side by side, Nigeria and the Cameroons. They didn't hand over to Nigeria. Nigeria itself was a trust territory.
Okay.
Also being ruled.
Um,
What actually happened
briefly,
is
so that
historically, what happened is that historically, when Germany lost Cameroon
yes,
to Britain and France,
Yes.
and Britain and France decided to divide Cameroon, Britain was already the colonial master of Nigeria,
Yes.
while France was the colonial master of Cameroon.
French Cameroon.
Of Cameroon then.
Yes.
Cameroon, Germany. So
Yes.
it was Cameroon key.
Yes.
There was no German, no English or French Cameroon. So when they came now to partition Cameroon, France took 4/5 of the territory.
Oliphant pick-up agreement.
And when they took 1/5 was given to Britain. Britain now decided not to govern that territory as an independent territory.
Attached.
He attached it to Nigeria.
Okay.
And that is why it was
Attached.
functioning as part
It
of
did not
the
give
Eastern
to
House of Enugu in Nigeria.
Okay,
So-
Senior Barrister Achu.
So even the question, please, let me just land. The question that you asked Barrister about before the independence, whether they had, at that time, there is a difference between a state and a sovereign state.
Yes.
The sovereignty aspect is when you start getting
After
the other
independence.
aspects.
Okay.
And that is after independence.
Okay.
When you gain independence, that is when things of anthem and president comes into
The flag,
picture.
okay,
Diplomacy comes into picture. But before that period, you could not carry diplomatic actions, you could
was
not have
just
a
a state.
president, it was just a state. So sovereignty comes after independence.
Senior Barrister Achu, want us to understand the truth about 1st October 1961 from your perspective, because we are looking at the truth, the lies, the conspiracy. I want us to look at the truth before we move to the lies and before we move to the conspiracies. It was celebrated in Yaoundé in 2019, 1st October, when we thought that it would be a day that will not even be celebrated in Cameroon.
Thank you very much, Jarvis, for inviting me today. Good afternoon, and good afternoon to my co-panelists. Good afternoon, Cameroon, and the televiewers. This topic is a very sensitive one and very interesting. Interesting in the sense that most of us talk about it now, never lived it. We are relying on documentation and books that others wrote. So when I say that, to me, Southern Cameroon has never been a state. It was just a territory. Southern Cameroon has never been a state, but a territory. And by that time, this territory was handed over to Britain, who decided to rule it through what we call independent ruling, in the sense that they had to pass through Nigeria to rule this territory. And this territory was composed of the Southern Cameroons and the Northern Cameroons. What happened in 1961 was, as my leader senior said, was a culmination of certain actions, meetings, consultations, and in September there was even this adoption of the federal constitution in September 1961, where it was actually stated that the federal constitution is going to come into force on the 1st of October 1961. So what I would like you to note, 1961, 1st of October 1961, is a very significant day of Cameroon because we adopted a federal constitution that ruled this country for some time, for at least for more than 10 years. That said, all this issue of independence or non-independence of Southern Cameroon to me rests judicata. Because we should remember that Aidjo engaged a case at the United Nations to reclaim Northern Cameroons and lost. That is the status decides from the United Nations. Why did he lose that case? He lost the case to close the chapter of so-called belonging to this or that, or wanting to challenge the legality of the plebiscite, or wanting to challenge the legitimacy of actions that were taken at that point in time, because this is a United Nations decision refusing to give back the northern Cameroons to Cameroon as it was during the German times. We are crying over spill milk, and because we're crying over spill milk, we are finding ourselves in this situation which we are now, in which we are saying that we were independent at one point in time, meanwhile we're just a territory. We're not even a state, no, a nation. Because how can Britain, we give a mandated territory of northern and southern Cameroons. One part say they are a state. The other part, okay, what was the northern part? Was it a state too? Please. To me, the way after going through the documentation, I've seen, read the 1608 and whatever. At the end of the day, I saw a court order, like some sort of similitude of a court order from the United Nations, refusing the right of Cameroon over northern British Cameroon. Why? It's because a line was cut about our past, and a new page was opened.
About the future.
To the future. What do we do? What is the quagmire in which we find ourselves? What do we do? Rather than crying over spilled milk, I believe it is in high time to see who can reform the situation and make a better Cameroon for you and me.
Senior Barrister Achu, you have raised an issue that it is a significant day in Cameroon because it was the day we adopted the federal constitution. Yes. And now the question now is, and which means that that's the truth about this 1st October 1961. No, from his perspective, you have time to react. I want to do a follow-up, Senior Barrister. Senior Barrister. Now, let me do this follow-up. Let me do this. Let me do this follow-up. This follow-up with you. If this day is that significant, why don't we, as Cameroon, celebrate this day of reunification, as we saw it's being celebrated in 2018? And many say the celebration in 2018 was because of the pressure from the Northwest and Southwest, as separatists were gaining grounds that period 2018, and the government wanted the world to see that it is happening in Yaoundé, not in Northwest and Southwest region.
You know, significant days in the country are decided by the head of state or the parliament. You and me can't decide it. So until they decide, we just have to stay put and wait till the day maybe Millennium should become president of the country. But as of date, it has not been decided. To me, I'm a legalist. I follow legality. And to date, despite the significance of the 1st October, which was today, the day that we had accepted that the federal constitution will come into force, well, I will celebrate maybe in my heart or in my home or personally, but officially we can't talk about that now.
Senior Barrister Achu, how will we tell posterity, our children, when is the independent date of the reunified Cameroon? As we have in Nigeria, these two countries came together and formed one united country. Is it not time for us to have one day to show that this is a day of unifier? Because 1972, 20 May, 11 February, these are not the date.
If any day to me was to be respected, it should be the day the country was changed to the Republic of Cameroon in 1984. Because we are in a quagmire in the sense that we found ourselves in a situation that we couldn't help it.
Okay.
Because our politicians in those days couldn't change the train of events. They just had to go with the flow. And that's what happened. We are blaming them today for reasons, for one reason or other, but they did what they were supposed to do at the time they were doing it. That's what I believe. And they couldn't do otherwise. Because, for example, when they left the Eastern House, there was some void. Who were they? What were they? Who do they represent? So those things had to be sorted out in certain ways, manners which will not cause more disorder than order. So the way they did it, to me at that time, caused a lot of order and a little bit of happiness, and every place was calm. It is 50 years afterwards that some of us want to show that we know more than them. They took the decision at that time. To me, I respect their decision, and there was calm.
We saw Rio versus Rio in US overturned 50 years after.
That is overturning it. Are we going to overturn it by coming on the TV and talking on TV? Instead of doing what is lawful, we'll come on TV and talk about it.
Let's just read some few messages. Siseko react, and Pastor Lama, and also Senior Barrister Achu will react. Good afternoon, Jarvis and the panel. There is a major inaccuracy in Senior Barrister Achu's account. The Britain did not impose a plebiscite. And did not impose the two options. The idea of joining one or the other originated from two leaders. Britain and May exploited their indecision to achieve desired. In the British parliamentary debate, their minister for the colonies made it clear that the decision was purely down to the three leaders, but behind the scene, they maneuver the final option, joining Nigeria or Cameroon with no option of independence. Thank you very much. This comes from Chefo in the United Kingdom, and this he's talking to you, but he wrote Ashu instead of Ashu.
He's ill-informed. The decision, the two options were imposed by an order in council.
Okay,
I have it. If you want,
good day, sir. What does Mr. Sule mean as just a teacher? Let him simplify it, because he is talking on basic teacher, secondary school teacher, high school teacher. Teachers are of different grades, and so Foncha was a. It's okay. Thank you. A message is read. We must always acknowledge and respect people from their diversity. I was trained by a teacher. If you ask me, my primary school teacher did a good job than what I studied in secondary or university.
What degree did he hold?
Good morning. I want to congratulate the panelists. In fact, I am so happy to hear sound and clear knowledge from both sides, including the CPDM side. This is true diversity. Tah Jarvis, thank you very much. And this is coming from Juke in United Kingdom. Good day, Mr. Jarvis, the members of panel. We are in the boiling pot of soup because of greed. My name is Eyong Bisong. Please, can I have Siseko Dr. Eyong star number? Thank you very much. You wanted to react, Mr. Sulaiman?
Yeah, I wanted to say that I disagree with Barisachu when he said 1984 should be considered as Independence Day. I disagree with that, because it was an illegal decision taken by the President of the Republic without consultations. It was supposed to be, at least you have to do a referendum in Southern Cameroon to know whether the people of Southern Cameroon wants to join or want to change that United Republic of Cameroon to Republic of Cameroon.
But at the time, he took the decision at the time.
Yeah.
Did the Constitution give him the power? And if the Constitution gave him the power, was he not acting under the mandate of the Constitution?
That was not correct, because you must do a referendum to know whether the people want that United Nation, that United, to be removed from United Republic of Cameroon or not. But you took a presidential decree, which was wrong. It was wrong for the president to take a decree to change a sensitive thing like that, only because he wanted to appease, he wanted to get firm control of things. As he has done everything, you see, with that decision of that United Republic leaving that place, gave the president enormous powers to do terrible things in this country.
So you disagree with
Ashu? Yes, I disagree with you in total.
Yes, I would just want to add one or two things concerning the truth of that first of the 1st of October. Another truth that we must agree here is that from the historical perspective and those who lived the period, that date was constantly celebrated even after 1961. So even when reunification had taken place, in Southern Cameroon, the 1st of October used to still be celebrated as a symbolic and important date, while 1st of January used to also be celebrated. So if it happened that they wanted to harmonize an independent date for a national day, it was supposed to be very tactfully selected, rather than using a date that is going to hurt another party. Because whether we accept it or not, modern day Africa is a creation of what happened by the superpowers. And even till today,
what was decided in Berlin.
Yes, it was decided in Berlin. And even as we speak today, they are still taking part in formatting what happens in other countries. Lastly, when Senior Barrister Achu said Southern Cameroon was never a state, that is distorting even present definition of a state. I think what we are saying is that it was not a sovereign state. But to say it was not a state is not academically correct. Because what is a state? A state is a territory with an organized political system or community headed by a government. And there are three components in modern day definition of a state that can give a territory that definition. You should have at least a government, a territory, and a population. If Southern Cameroon had a fixed territory that could be dismantled from Nigeria and made a territory, it means it had a fixed territory. If there are people who can call themselves today Southern Cameroonian and there is nobody in Nigeria who claimed that it was a Southern Cameroonian and was taken to Nigeria, it means there was a clear demarcation. Yeah. And if there was a prime minister with other ministers that we can recognize today, the Foncha was a prime minister, Ndele was a prime minister, Njua was a prime minister, and so on. There was no president because they had not yet attained sovereignty. So to me, I think in my little knowledge, when a state becomes sovereign, it must have another head beyond a prime minister, which could be a president in most of the cases. So we are not arguing about the issue of state and no state. I think what is important here is whether the territory gained independence as an independent country, which Barrister Ashu is trying to emphasize the fact that that is where the bulk of the trouble started. Because if they had to follow the normal aspect of how territories got independence, when Britain was to remove his hand from that territory, it was to grant it full independence because it was a territory that was, because French Cameroon that was part of it had its independence. Okay. It had. Otherwise, they would have waited to say we cannot accept independence until we get back that our territory that was separated from us through Britain and France. Territory. So it is a no, it is a territory. All right.
Senior Barrister Ashu.
All right.
Yes. Senior Barrister Ashu, then Barrister Ashu will react.
Please, let me answer my learned colleague because you see we are talking. Our children are listening, and the world is watching. So we should be very careful with what we say. In 1960, the Republic of Cameroon attained independence on the 1st of January. Mm-hmm. They had no constitution. On the 1st of January, when the Republic of Cameroon attained independence, it had no constitution. Their constitution was voted on the 4th of March 1960. Correct me if I'm wrong. Now, somebody was trying to say from England that the two options were not imposed by England. Mm-hmm. I want to tell him to go back to his books. Southern Cameroon being a self-governing territory in 1961. Mm-hmm. A self-governing territory in 1961, yes. In the words of the United Nations. Okay. Fell under a different category of rules that were being applied to territories that were being decolonized. So, my learned colleague here is jubilating that we are talking about territory. His honeymoon is very, very short. His honeymoon is going to be very short because I will side with Sisiku Eyonta here. I will side with him here to tell my learned colleague that in 1961, when the United Nations decided to grant independence, as I earlier said, there was an independence vote on the 23rd of April, which gave rise to resolution 1608. And in Article 2B, the independence of Southern Cameroon was formally recognized. That one, nobody should even disturb himself with that one. It is clear. Now, his problem is that Southern Cameroon, according to him, has never been a state. Let me refresh his memory. In 1959, the Queen of England erected Southern Cameroon, which was previously called British Southern Cameroon, erected into an independent province within the Federation of Nigeria. So it was now called Southern Cameroons. In 1960, the Queen of England enacted the Southern Cameroon's constitution. If you don't have it, please come, I will give you.
I don't need it.
A state that has a constitution.
Okay.
How can you say a state that has a constitution? Okay, a community that has a constitution is not a state. How?
Okay.
How is that possible?
Exactly.
That is one. Number two. No. Wait, let me finish with him.
No, he has to react.
Let me finish with him. My points are still there. My points are still there.
It's not him, it's Cameroon.
Resolution 1608, sub 5. 5. The British were given the mandate to oversee an agreement between the two Cameroons. It is clearly stated that Britain should, alongside the government of Southern Cameroon, please go look at that resolution, Article 5. Government of Southern Cameroons and the Republic of Cameroon. So we are talking here about an international instrument that recognizes that they are talking about a government. If you want to say it is a territory, a territory with a government. What do you call it?
Okay.
An association?
Okay.
Okay. Please. Look, he said so many things. Don't rush me, please.
Oh, you are coming from
No. He said here that in 1961, Cameroon signed the federal constitution. It is wrong. It is wrong. There was no federal constitution that was signed in 1961. Okay. In pursuance to the provision that was given that enabled Britain to organize the parties to have a union treaty, Britain did not attend Fumban. They were supposed to be there. They didn't go there. But before going to Fumban, the Southern Cameroonians held the monthly constitutional conference, where they decided that what they wanted was not federation, but confederation. When they went to Fumban, they signed nothing. The constitution that was presented in Fumban was Ahijo's draft constitution. Now, when Fumban failed,
enacted in March.
Excuse me, wait, I'm coming. When Fumban failed, Britain now organized the Yaoundé Constitutional Conference in August 1961. And when they saw that Southern Cameroonians were not bending on their choice of confederation, they took Ahijo's draft constitution and sent it to the Parliament of the Republic of Cameroon in Yaoundé. That single-handedly voted it as a constitutional amendment of the Constitution of 4th of March 1960. That is what became the Constitution of the 1st of September 1961. So it was not the way. No, I want to make it clear. It was not the work of the two Cameroons sitting together. It was a unilateral work of one Cameroon, of the Republic of Cameroon alone.
Now,
Cameroon was never a party to it.
Senior Barrister Ashu, that's a submission. Now, can Senior Barrister
I will open Google. Let's read.
It means that he's campaigning to be president of a country which is illegal. How can he be doing that?
But you have
what you say? No. Please. You are a lawyer. You are president of a political party. I want to be president of a country. And you are saying that what you are saying is a contradiction to why you want to become president of this country. But in any case,
I will answer you there.
On the 1st of September 1961, it is Honorable Esti Muna presented this constitution in the Southern Cameroon House of Parliament.
Southern Cameroon.
Yes, he presented this thing and he warned parliamentarians to accept it. The 1st of September 1961. 1st of September 1961. I'm not missing what. I'm not lying. I'm not joking. I'm telling you the truth. And it passed through that parliament and it was adopted. And what do you want to tell me?
My God.
Okay. Yeah.
But in any case,
in any
case, what my learned friend is making as if it's a one by one. Let me take on him too. He has stated so many facts here. But he's living where? In Douala, Cameroon. He created his political party. Where is the head office? Douala, Cameroon. He wants to be president of which country? A country where part of it is considered illegal, but he wants to be president of the country. It's some contradiction. Okay. You see, when once you bring out this type of information and you want to make as if the country was managed at that time by donkeys, because that's what he's portraying, that he's more intelligent than those who managed the country at that time and did what they did at that time and managed it at that time and until we are here today, 50 years afterwards. By so doing, what are you doing? You are planting seeds of discord, hate, anger, hatred, vexation, and misunderstanding in the population. And once you do that, and you think you can be president of the country by spread, as I say, no, it's not possible. You want to attack me? Okay. Instead of bringing our ideas, okay, let's go on that road.
Okay.
I'll follow. But in any case,
yes.
But let's put this straight. Nobody has attacked the 1972 referendum to date. Nobody has attacked the 1984 change of the name and ratification of the parliament as of date. Why should I be the one to come and say it is not correct? Meanwhile, all those who think that it is not correct are scared of doing what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
They're encouraging people, boys, to take guns and go to the bushes instead of doing what they're supposed to do. They think that.
What are they supposed to do, Senior Barrister?
Legally speaking, there are ways of challenging a referendum. Legally speaking, there are ways of challenging a constitutional amendment that you don't like.
Okay.
If you don't do it, who do you think will do it for you? Okay. Let's say after 50 years, 1972 to date, nobody has done anything. We know the normal prescription period for engaging litigation is about 30 years. Why are we still want to cry over spilled milk?
Okay. Briefly, I want us to get to Professor Elvis Golengole, a brief excerpt, even if it's just 2 minutes, to have his own thought on this. Then we'll come back and we'll look at the conspiracies and the lies.
There's nothing.
No, come on. We know where they are. If you don't know, I'll show you.
Let us get to Professor Golengole. After that, we'll look at the conspiracies and the lies.
Thank you so much, Professor Elvis Golengole, political scientist, director of the Cameroon People's Democratic Movement Academy, for accepting to grant this interview on behalf of House of Commons. Oh, yeah. Professor, we are discussing with you today. Today is the 1st of October. And it's a controversial day in the history of Cameroon. And the question I have for you today is, are Anglophones wrong to have the nostalgia to return to the federal system? When we take a look at what happened on the 1st of October 1961.
Well, I tell you, Bo, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, but I talk to you again as a very conscientious, a very honest citizen who comes from one of the two regions of the Northwest and Southwest. I'm from Tambere, which is in Kupe-Maniguba division, from the Southwest region. And when I speak of something that has to do with our history and our politics, I try to be as frank as I can be. I try to be as honest and as straightforward as I can be. You asked the question, Anglophones, meaning those of English-speaking expression from the two regions, right to be nostalgic about the return to federalism. I think that in the society in which we live, which is a free society, in the political system in which we have, which is a unitary, decentralized system, in the system of government which we have, which is a democratic, presidential or semi-presidential system, a multi-party system, every citizen, no matter whether you come from Northwest or Southwest, whether you speak English or you speak French, is free to be nostalgic about the history of Cameroon. But the fact that you are free to be nostalgic means you think good of what you had before. That's why you say nostalgia is the thought of your past and its goodness, or what was good about it. You are free to think like that, but the fact that you are free does not make you right or does not make it right. I personally think that those Anglophones, and I am one of them, who, when I say I'm one of them, I say I'm an Anglophone, just like the other Anglophones. Those Anglophones who think nostalgic about what happened with the federal system in 1961, they are free to do so, but I don't think they are right. I don't think they are right. They are wrong for the following reasons. They are wrong, one, because the people of Cameroon, after 11 years of the federal system, decided in a national referendum to abolish it and to replace it with a unitary system. That referendum was right, was constitutional. It was of May 20th, 1972, and that has become law. And that is what we live with, even though that unitary system has even been reformed to become a unitary decentralized system, which we have now. Second, they are wrong because they are nostalgic about a past, which in law, which by the Constitution, which by political legitimacy is past and gone, has been replaced, but they're still thinking good about it.
Sisiko Eyota, Mr. Suleiman, I'll start with you before coming to. I'll start with you, Sisiko Eyota.
Yes.
Your reaction, and we'll move to the lies and conspiracies.
Well, you know,
what Professor you answer. We'll come to you because yeah, you answer last. So I'll come to you.
You know, Professor Ngolengola is a senior brother that I respect so much, and we say so many things out of public discussions. He knows very well that what he's saying there is political jargon. He knows very well, and he's a very good person in language manipulation. If you notice, you will see that he was getting difficulty to justify the lies. Nobody has said that what happened in 1972 was not constitutionally correct. The argument is not about the constitutional correctness of what happened. The aspect is about the good faith and goodwill of what happened. It's not because something is constitutional that it is right. So they can say that because a country is governed by constitution, if you put any lies in the constitution or any bad thing in the constitution to back up your stay in power, it becomes good because it is the constitution. That is not the argument. The argument is that if a certain people came and insisted that they could only join their brothers through a federal system, and they did so through a vote, and you wanted to ask their opinion whether it was no longer working, it was not supposed to be a national thing. The Republic of Cameroon never knew anything about federation. They got their independence through their unity system, and they were functioning with it. The Southern Cameroon, as Senior Barrister was trying to justify, did not even go to Fumban for a federation. He has explained some facts that they went there for a confederation, which is what normally obtains under such critical situations. And it is working well where they have tried to do that. So, if the majority at that time decided to do what they did, today we have come to realize that it is political theft, and it is our duty to decry it. Not because we cannot take it to any legal matter, because we know what it is. Lastly, when Senior Barrister Achu says, why are people not contesting? I want to remind him that senior politicians in this country, one of them, senior citizen Aboem Achoy, who has been governor of Northwest and Southwest region, is still alive now, says that when the aspect of 1984 took place, all the Anglophone politicians were angry, and they met and decided to contest that decision. But because the coup d'etat had just taken place, they were called back and beckoned not to raise another serious problem that could scatter Cameroon, because President Pobia was still in the shock of recovery from the coup d'etat. So to say that people did not eradicate is not true. That is just what I wanted to add. So for him to say that it was correct and people did not talk about it and they are crying over spring, he should know that the English-speaking Cameroonians of this country have always been very mature in politics. They have always been very democratic in politics. They have always been very peaceful in their approach to things. Otherwise, if they had raised that problem in 1984, there is no guarantee that this country will still have been where it is.
Because that
and that is what we also started again in 1916 by revoking the same problems. And this time it became 2016, sorry, and it became this time a generalized problem to us. What happened? We know what happened, and what happened again to bring us to the armed situation where we are today. So nobody can contest the fact that we have never complained that the injustice that we are going through is not supposed to be redressed.
Okay. See, Mr. Suleiman, you listen to Professor Evans Golengole. Your reaction, the land, and also I want you to talk about the lies about 1st October.
He is a government spokesman. He's there to promote, protect, defend our interests.
He's an Anglophone.
He's an Anglophone, he's a sellout Anglophone.
What quantify him a sellout? Because 1990.
Let me come. Because you have never listened to him being objective in any of his analysis when it comes to Southern Cameroon. He's always subjective. And you're trying to project the government image that they are always right in what they are doing. That is his stand. So to me, what he's saying about nostalgia, that is a bullshit for me. I don't see it as anything. All I know is that as Sissoko said, Sissoko has summarized everything, and I stand by that.
Okay, Senior Vice Ashu, you wanted to react to what your colleague said.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm the national president of Reform Party, and you notice that the CPDM representative was trying to discredit the national president of Reform Party, and by saying that
they're attacking him now.
No, I'm just restating what he said.
Okay.
Yes, because he said that national president of Reform Party wants to be president of Cameroon, a country that he is condemning. Now, any house that is built on a shaky foundation cannot stand. It cannot stand the test of time. You cannot build a future without being sure of your past. The fact that we are having problems today is reason enough for us to look at what went wrong so that we can stand now and, as good citizens of this country, make things right. Let us put it very clear. Let me put it in a language that you understand better.
In French.
You are no longer a Santa Maria, now a French. Now, you see, in 1961, the Cameroonian people who are truly one family decided to come together. There was what the lawyers will call a de facto union, but there was no de jure union. I think he understands me better because he's a lawyer. He understands well.
So you are
a de jure union. No, yes.
Those of us who are not lawyers.
A de facto union, because all the people at that time wanted to come together. Even those who opposed Foncha toed the line and wanted to come together. That was supposed to be followed by the de jure union, which was going to come about as a result of the implementation of 16085 sub 5, which has never been done till this date. On the contrary, there was some legal spring that was enacted. My learned CPDM colleague here knows that, since I have already proven to him that Southern Cameroon was a state.
Not.
I proved to you that it was a state. First of all, it had a constitution. Secondly, in 1608, they talk of the government of Southern Cameroon. So if after that one you still say that I've not proven, I don't know what other proof you want. They had a prime minister who was even reconducted into the Federal Republic of Cameroon by the president of the Republic of Cameroon. So the de jure union was supposed to come after both states had signed a union treaty that was supposed to be ratified by their both parliaments. Let me remind him again. Republic of Cameroon had its parliament, which enacted the constitution of
March
1st September 1961, which was styled the federal constitution.
But he said Foncha, I mean,
please, he doesn't know what he's saying. The constitution of the 1st of September 1961 was an act of the the constitution of the parliament of the Republic of Cameroon. Southern Cameroon had nothing to do with it. If he can prove me wrong, bring me a document from the Southern Cameroon Assembly showing that I mean, why is it? Look at even in Google, this is it here. That is the content. I have it printed.
I'll go to archives.
I have it hard copy. I have that constitution hard copy. Now, there is nothing which Southern Cameroon ever signed on that day. Nothing. So, by constitutional law, both parliaments were supposed to ratify the Union Treaty before the both heads of state signed to make it law.
Okay.
There was no Union Treaty, so nothing was ever signed.
Senior.
So now, wait, I'm defending
the
position of my party.
We have time. We are looking at time for other speakers. So we are not going to the lies and the Senior Barrister.
Please, okay, with all due respect to your time, sir, I am saying that it is not a contradiction for Reform Party to stand for the truth.
Okay.
We have to stand for the truth so that Cameroon should be a country that is standing not only on de jure unification, on de facto unification, yes, but also on de jure unification. That is reunification by law. As of today, there is no unification by law. Let me ask him, go to the United Nations. Which is the map of Cameroon? Republic of Cameroon, United Nations. Does Southern Cameroon figure on that map? The map of Republic of Cameroon in the United Nations. Does I am asking you now? Oh, you see now. Go to African Union.
I'm in Cameroon. I will see my map in Cameroon.
Go to African Union.
To New York.
African Union. Article.
I don't stay in New York. I don't know.
Article 4. Article 4 of the Constituent Act of African Union state that every country recognizes that its boundaries, its borders, are those obtained on independence. On Independence Day, did the borders of Republic of Cameroon engulf Southern Cameroons? Fine. You see, so there is no way you can run about it.
So, Senior, your submission, because of your submission, Senior Barrister, if you take too much time, you may not have time to react.
Mr. Ngole was talking there.
Yes, Senior Barrister.
Whatever he said apart 1972 is a nullity because you see, it came from the fraud that was orchestrated in the Parliament of the Republic of Cameroon in 1961.
Senior Barrister, Senior Barrister.
That's what continues.
Senior Barrister, Ashu, President of Reform Party, let Barrister Ashu react to you.
I'm very surprised to hear certain.
The way you two are going, maybe we may have a one-on-one because you are monopolizing the time.
I'm very shocked. I'm very shocked by his declarations. They have a president of a political party in Cameroon, but in any case, I will not follow his route. That route is erroneous. It will lead Cameroonians to the gutter. First and foremost, America is made up of states. Does that mean that they are independent?
No. They are not sovereign. They are states.
They are states. They are states. But they are not sovereign.
Yes.
Who has the sovereignty of a state?
A state that has got independence.
Has the sovereignty. So if you don't have independence, you're not sovereign.
Yes.
So Cameroon. You see, you're contradicting. You see how you contradict yourself.
I stand by that.
The American states are sovereign.
No, they are autonomous. They are not sovereign.
They are sovereign.
The sovereign state should have the capacity to enter into treaties with others, have diplomatic relations, have a president. That is a sovereign state. If you don't have that, you are not a sovereign state. Yes, you are an autonomous state.
Cameroon was just a territory.
A territory is synonymous.
Let me tell you something. If you don't know, there are prime ministers in Ghana, representatively of states, in Kenya of states.
No.
Don't talk about those things.
No.
Look, they have governments, decentralized governments.
Yeah, but they don't have
ministers and prime ministers.
No, they don't have prime ministers.
Oh, come on. Okay.
They don't.
We will check it out.
Yes. All right. That is true. Sorry for
interruption. They have a state. They have the function quasi-independent of the country. They have quasi-independence. But we never even had quasi-independence because we're under the control of the British. That is why even the day the British dropped their
Union Jack,
which flag went up? Zero flag. What does that mean to you? When the Union Jack dropped, which flag came up?
No flag.
No flag. What does that mean? There was no flag at then.
Do you know what they're talking about?
Yes.
No flag went up.
No flag went up.
How come Cameroon flag is up now?
That is very serious.
Be very careful.
The day Union Jack flag came down, there was no flag. The flag came as a consequence of the relationship that we had now with former French Cameroon. You should understand that the British were not happy with our politicians of the time because they refused to join Nigeria. And they eventually abandoned them to themselves to go and meet the French-speaking Cameroonians with French councillors. If you don't understand. So the might, the political might of negotiation on our side was lower than that of the French. And that's why they had the upper hand to get certain things going.
That one is true.
But you see, at the end of the day, what happened? What happened on the 1st of September, we accepted the federal constitution of President Baijo. It was discussed in Parliament.
In Forba or Parliament?
No, in Parliament, in West Cameroon House of Parliament, on the 1st of September, with Muna and Mutombi. Mutombi, I think, was in the opposition. That
Mutombi were later.
Yes, that sided with the motion that was filed by Muna. And that's how that constitution came into place. But don't forget again that in 1966, all the political parties
refused.
Enacted in Yaoundé was.
Let him learn. We are almost out of time.
I was discussed in the South Carolina House of Commons, House of Assembly, that accepted to adopt it on the 1st of October. First, I accepted that it should come into force on the 1st of October. And then what happened?
And they could not vote it.
But it went through. It went through and they were accepted, it was adopted.
Why was it signed by only the Francophone Assembly?
It was discussed in the.
Why was it signed only by the Francophone Assembly?
Let me learn.
I was not asking you questions.
Let me learn.
I was not asking you no questions.
If we shall ask
you talk when the time comes.
Because we have just close to 10 minutes to go.
Okay. So when you say Southern Cameroon was a state, what was Northern Cameroon?
A province.
So you now distinguish Northern Cameroon, which is different from Southern Cameroon, managed by the same Britain? What are we talking about here? Who's lying now finally? You see, let's not build images in our heads and think that those are realities. I told you, politicians negotiate and do deals at the political point in time because of certain circumstances. You just said it. In 1984, when the name of the country was changed, what happened? Our politicians, despite their anger, they had to cool down because of the coup d'etat. Those are the circumstances that surrounded it. But then after, what happened? Nothing. And you want now our children to start fighting that thing. Where mature people like you are still there and still alive, not doing anything. You want our children to start fighting it. Which is not, that's why it's not my problem. That's my problem. That we push issues to the population and we don't know the consequences. If, as you said, if Anglophones were decided to carry out the rioting or whatever in 1984, you yourself have said this country should have been very different. We never did. It means that the politicians at that time accepted that, okay, let's let this thing pass because of the circumstances we find ourselves. So why are you crying about it now?
Okay.
That was very serious to think about. Okay, finally, Professor Ngolengole said it that yes, they did what they did in 1972. The president of the Reform Party said there was no union treaty. Is there some format of having a union treaty? In 1966, all the political parties decided to dissolve themselves to create one party, CNU. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that Cameroon has come to become one. Whether you like it or not. Okay. Those are the consequences. And that's why the party, the lone party at that time, could succeed to do the referendum in 1972, and it succeeded. That changed the constitutionality of Cameroon. And so on, and in 1984, the constitutionality of Cameroon, or this view, legal or constitutional view of Cameroon has changed, has evolved along the line and over the time. Now we have multipartism, which means that it is the party that has prime, that is has the majority
in parliament
that can determine the life of Cameroonians.
Okay.
My friend still have one municipal councillor. He still have one municipal councillor.
Okay.
The day you have one municipal councillor, I will discuss with my political party.
Okay. By
it's a challenge.
Sisiku, we are almost out of time. How do we understand this? Dr. Simon Monzo, in one of our sisters' program, in House of Commons, said they went to the UN, and the UN said there was nothing they could do. And that they later on decided to buy a flag. They went to the shop and bought the flag we saw at Mongo, that was brandished at Mongo, that it came from the UN. Until now, people are still believing some of those lies. How do we remedy now this situation?
The flag?
Yes, Dr. Simon Monzo said this flag that was presented at Mongo with Foncha, and Mongo was bought from the shop and not from the UN.
Yes, it is somebody that it's a senior person that I communicate so much with. And after that program, I also called him to get verbal confirmation, and he still insisted that he is talking from an eyewitness position. To be honest, I was very embarrassed to hear that. And that is why I said, when we hear that from the mouth of those who were actually actors, it becomes very disheartening to know that at that time, there were still people who could go that extra mile to manipulate, like what the CPDM is doing today to Cameroonians. And you may think that it is real because sometimes the things look so real, whereas there are a lot of cover things. No, I'm decrying it that it's bad. Senior barrister, I'm not saying that it's a good thing. Lies can lead to a very dangerous situation.
And that's where we are now.
Because if we did not hear from an actor's point of view, we were taking pictures and looking at stories being told or reported messages, we will say that it is real. That is why I'm saying that you people are doing the same thing now with the same system. Now, so let doctors. Yes, when he said so, I asked him similar questions of what was his role and what did he do after that, just like he is trying to say. The difference between Monzo's position and what happened at that time is that he is still alive and has decided to try to debunk the lies, to try to put the record straight. Which unfortunately the people who are doing the manipulation now are going with the lies. And it creates a more difficult situation. Because if today, senior brother like Senior Barrister actually they decide to start saying the truth to the powers that be where they are, because he started to say we should react. He knows very well that we cannot react. We react, he will not be taken. They who are supposed to do the reaction and say the truth, they are refusing to do so. And that is where we are now.
They are saying that there's multi-party politics, we should form political
we agree.
parties and go and
let me come. If they are accepting that multi-partism has come, he just told you here that he just told you
yes, right. Continue. We're out of time.
He just told you that he enjoys the fact that all the parties decided to forgo their partisanship and form one party in 1966, and to him it was a good thing.
Have I said so? It was a decision at that time.
Yeah, I would say he had reason. But when they realized that it was...
What is more treated than that?
Let Dr. land.
All right. The truth is that there's so many lies that have been told have now come to put us in the mess where we are. And we are saying that from the little truth we have put on this table, it shows that Cameroon was born on a bad footing.
So how do we go?
And now it is high time to sit again on a table, as it happened in Forba, and redraw a new Cameroon and redesign a new Cameroon. Because I stand on the fact that the modern day Cameroon can only become better if we go back to the drawing board to acknowledge the fact that it is two Cameroon that form the modern Cameroon. And so it can only function on a one Cameroon, two systems. If the one Cameroon, two system is not put into picture,
is learning now.
We are going to
so let's Sissoko is lying. We are out of time.
We are not talking about 8 million Cameroonians. We are talking about the same people who have
died. The rest are died.
But they have generations. Land.
All the same, we have come to stay. And whether Senior Barrister actually likes it or not, I may not join this party for now. Does not mean I will never join it, and does not mean I will never be there. But we have decided to fight the fight in our own way. Your party tells lies that is depriving us from joining it.
You may join one day.
Yes,
one day.
One day, I said so. So we are saying that new Cameroon is possible, and our generation has come to stand for that. Whether they like it or not, it doesn't matter how long it takes. We are going to make sure that a new Cameroon is put to birth. If not for us, for our children, but we'll start the foundation and continue.
With the National Day.
The National Day, we have said it, whether they like it or not. The National Day that is celebrated in Cameroon today is insignificant. There is no historical attachment to it. It does not carry Cameroonians along. And so there is a need for a review of that date, to take a symbolic date that there is something national that happened there that may either be sympathetic to Cameroonian or can give Cameroonian a sense of belonging. Not because we had independence on the 1st of October, but I just gave you the fact that
we lost
one big Cameroon came back and joined another one, and why another one was lost. Just those two historical aspects to any country is something to be proud of.
Thank you very much.
To thank us for that decision that we took to give this Cameroon a certain territory that it is enjoying today.
We are out of time. Senior Barrister Ashu, thank you for coming.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for inviting me. Cameroon is one, and nothing can divide it. one another environment. We just need to evolve and look forward and see how to make this country better for you and me.
Okay, Senior Barrister Ashu, I really pray that we have this topic again on Sunday because there was no time. Though you and Senior Barrister Ashu decided to monopolize the...
We are brothers.
They have manipulated the debate all. All what we are saying is that what I'm saying is that they say we are indivisible.
I'm not a
but we are divisible.
No, we are coming to your conclusion. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tah Mah Jarvis. I will land by saying that the Ahijo went to the UN on a wrong footing to ask that the territory of Northern Cameroon be given back to him. If he had challenged the British decision to divide the territory, and their violation of their trusteeship agreement, the answer would have been different.
Okay. Thank you for coming.
He is saying that Cameroon is united. Cameroon, they say, is indivisible. Cameroon is divisible. Cameroon is divisible because the injustices are there.
By SDF.
By the CPD.
Your party stands for federation.
Yes, we are for federation.
Then how do you divide it again?
Into two.
I said we are divisible.
Into two
we are not
states
indivisible.
Thank you very much, Seseko, for coming. We understand that you came right from Yaoundé. Thank you also, Mr. Sulaiman from Ground Zero in Kumba. Just a day after the former Oktoberfest, we are happy that it was peaceful in Kumba. Also want to thank you, Senior Barrister Achu, for coming. We understand that it was not easy to have it here because the sun is a busy day. And of course, the Reform Party president, who believes he has a solution to unite Cameroon. And we will keep the debate for next week Sunday, and this time around we shall look at also the conspiracy zooming into the Monzo's flag, the revolution made by Dr. Monzo, which Cameroonians should know the reality, because a lot of historical books have written something contrary to what the actor actually said. This program comes to you every Sunday at exactly 12 to 1:30. In case you want to be a panelist to this program, contact me on the numbers on your screen, and you shall come and be a panelist to discuss on issues and take responsibility for your words. And a lot of you are saying that, why is this person not saying this? Why is this person saying this? Please, we ought to be respectful. We have to respectfully disagree to agree and respect each other's opinion. I believe as a journalist, it is my duty to uphold values that will promote peace and coexistence, because without peace there will be no journalism. And thank you to all those who took our time to comment on our social media handle. We respect your opinion, and we pray that may you also pipe down your insult to those members. Our studio is open for you. If you are on social media and want to join us, come to Fengu Dombange Koto Bonamusadi and make your voices heard and your opinion known, and take responsibility for your statement. I leave you with this: no matter the matter, what matters is your matter. And what should matter for you this day is that there should be a day that Cameroon should remember as a national day. My name is Tah Mah Jarvis from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. Fengu John Bange. Bye-bye.
Welcome to a new world of TV broadcasting. My Media Prime. New